Okay, so let's go to today. We're going to talk about measuring success and what that actually looks like. So let me pull this up. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. All right. Measuring success. Let's talk about the scale. Again, I am not a coach who will say to completely ditch the scale. I am a coach who will tell you that if you have an issue with the scale, at some point, the only way that you overcome those obstacles and overcome the way that you think about things is to actually work on them and to understand them. You're not going to develop a better relationship with the scale by not stepping on it. You don't get better at something by avoiding it. So hopefully today, if you do have an unhealthy relationship with the scale, my goal is today is to help start to repair that relationship, so at least you understand the value behind it and also what it doesn't mean. The reality is that the scale is literally just a number of total weight. It doesn't take into consideration body fat. It doesn't take into consideration things like water retention, inflammation, digestion. Those are all things that are going to affect the number that you see. And I get this quite a bit, especially with new clients, where they watch that scale go up and down, the number on the scale go up and down, and they're like, oh, I lost 2 pounds, or I lost 1.5 pounds. And then like a couple days later, they're like, ah, but I gained 2 pounds. And I'm like, listen, the number is certainly fluctuating, but that isn't fat. That isn't like what you care about, right? So an example of this is that if you eat out or you eat something that has more sodium in it, your body is going to hold on to water. You're going to weigh more. That's just going to happen. Another example is that if you, let's say you drink and you go on vacation, or you have a weekend where maybe you drink Friday and Saturday, you didn't drink on Sunday. Well, alcohol is dehydrating. So what you'll notice is like right as you like after a day or two of drinking, you may notice that you weigh less, and you will weigh less until 2 days-ish after, when all of a sudden that water is going to start getting pulled back into the cell. And then all of a sudden the scale goes back up 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds. That will affect it. Inflammation in your system of any kind, right? Any kind of inflammation. Perfect example. Let's say you just go have a killer leg workout. That creates inflammation, right? That inflammation will make the number on the scale go up. If you have chronically elevated cortisol, inflammation, that will go up. Digestion, right? Maybe you just need to poop. Maybe you just started in the challenge eating more protein and eating more fiber. What that means is that things slow down in your gut, right? Which helps keep you satiated. That slowing down in your digestive tract actually makes your metabolism go up because it's having to work a little harder. But that means that there's still food in your digestive system, right? Which means that the scale is going to be a little bit higher. So the goal is for you to understand that everybody has a 3 to 5 pound fluctuation, and you're going to see that it just goes up and down. Don't let the 2 to 3 pounds that you see doing this dictate how you feel about it. And the other thing is that there's always a lead time or a lag time, right? So you think like, I was perfect yesterday. And then you step on the scale and you're like, why am I up, 0.5 pound or 2 pounds or 1.5 pounds, whatever, right? It doesn't work like calories in, calories out. You have to consider like all of the inner workings of your system, and it's not always going to match up the way that you think it's going to. So how do we use it as a measuring tool? We're going to talk about the difference between weight loss and fat loss, and those things are different, but you can still use the scale as a tool. What I recommend that you do is that you don't actually want to just weigh in once a week. And the reason you don't want to do that is, imagine you weigh in on a day where you have a fluctuation going up, and then you think that the whole week you tried so hard, but all of a sudden the scale goes up. Maybe you're about to start your period, and so water retention is up, inflammation is up, right? And you think, I just went and did all these things and I was in a caloric deficit and I exercised, but the scale went up. Why even bother, right? So it messes with your head. Instead, what I recommend you do is you measure it every day, same time of day, first thing in the morning, Like go to the bathroom, urinate, take a bowel movement if you have one, whatever, same time, measure what and record what that number is, and then have the entire week average that number out. And then you're taking the average week to week. So when we're looking at it, and if you look inside the app, you'll see if you plugged in your weight, you'll see like, fluctuating. And then the goal is over time to see that number come down. This is how you can take a weekly average. It rarely is going to reflect things in real time. So that's why we want to look at it as a trend, as an overall trend, like what is happening. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. Non-scale successes. So what you also want to do is not put everything into the scale. Because, and I'll show you a picture here in a minute, there's a difference between weight loss and fat loss. I'll actually tell you a story of a woman I met probably 20 years ago. Some women just really stick with me for a long period of time. And I remember this is a woman that I met inside the gym. I worked inside gyms for a really long time, and I remember she came in and we were doing a consultation, and she sat down and she said, "Listen, I'm gonna tell you something. I just really need you to listen to me, but I need you to know this." And I'm like, "Cool, what's up?" She goes, "I want you to know I know better. I'm an educated woman." She was ambitious, very career oriented. And she goes, "And I did a lot of research, and I know I shouldn't have done this, but I did it." And she goes, "Last year I had surgery. I don't remember if she stapled or she had some kind of surgery, bariatric surgery." And she goes, "And in my head, I just kept thinking, I know what the risks are, but I just want to lose 100 pounds. I know I'll look different if I just lose 100 pounds. I'm going to do this." And she goes, "And so I did it." And I was like, "Okay." And she goes, "And I lost 70 pounds." And I was like, "Okay." um, if you guys are around me for any length of time, you will learn that I do not have a poker face. And she looked at me and she goes, "Exactly." And I was like, "Exactly what?" And she goes, "You can't tell that I lost 70 pounds." And she was right. I couldn't. She was still pretty heavy set. Um, and I said, "Listen, first of all, congratulations. 70 pounds off your body is 70 pounds off your body. I never want anybody to feel bad about that. That's 70 pounds off your joints, right? So we're going to celebrate that." But because of the way that she did it, her body just ate up massive amounts of muscle. And muscle is smaller and more compact than fat. Muscle and fat, so just so you know, muscle does not weigh more than fat. Pound of fat, pound of muscle, they both weigh a pound. Pound of fat is 2 to 3 times the size of muscle. It's soft, it's gushy, it takes up space. Muscle's smaller, more dense, and is more metabolically active. So if you do something where you're eating up a lot of muscle and not a lot of fat, you're still gonna be bigger. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So we don't want to just focus on the scale because it didn't lead to her to the result that she wanted. She ended up sitting in front of me going, "Can we fix this?" And the answer is yes, of course, right? But that's the long road, a longer road. So what we want to look at are things like lost inches, right? Like, are you losing inches in your chest, your waist, your hips? For most women, when they start actually losing body fat, you're going to notice it in your waistline. You're going to notice it actually in your bra. Like your bra will get looser because across your backside, that starts to come down, even just in inflammation. Are you increasing your strength? Like I have a lot of women, once they start lifting weights, like, "Oh my God, like I am getting stronger." And then they notice how much stronger they are just in life. Do you have increased energy? Guys, this is life. Like I know we all want to look a certain way and feel good in our clothes, but like for most women who come to me at that point, they're just like, "I feel like crap all day long. I struggle to get through my day." Well, if you have energy to enjoy life the way that you want to, that is a win. And just so you know, it's important to find these other non-scale successes because you will always go where you're looking. And if you're disappointed constantly in the scale, your actions will reflect disappointment. Your actions will always reflect what you are looking at. So it's important to find things that show you that it's working and you're looking at where you want to go. I use the analogy of throwing a baseball, right? Like, I don't know if any of you play sports, but like, you don't look at the ball as you throw it, right? You look where you're going to throw it, and then the ball goes there. This is the same way, works the same way. You want to look where you want to go. And so you're teaching your body to find the things that are working. Do you have improved sleep? Are you sleeping through the night, or at least able to go back to sleep better? Is that an improvement? Do you have improved digestion? Right? Are you less bloated because you're actually going to the bathroom every day? This one's a big one. Food freedom. This is huge with a lot of my clients. Come back and they're like, I can't believe that I'm eating this much food and still losing weight. I can't believe that I'm going on vacation this weekend and I'm not stressed about it at all. I'm going and I'm enjoying social events and I don't feel bad about the foods that I'm eating. I don't feel like I have to completely restrict, but I also don't feel like I'm overindulging to a point where I'm uncomfortable. And also then I'm tired and feel crappy. Like, they're learning how to maneuver those situations. And as you do it, you just stop thinking about it because it's just who you are. That frees up so much mental space. Whereas most women, that's all they think about. It's food, right? So it creates a lot of food freedom. There's an increase in confidence. Do you have an increase in motivation? As you start to experience these, you're starting to have better energy, better sleep, better digestion. Motivation goes up, not down. Now you're motivated to continue going, right? Is there a decrease in something called resting heart rate? Resting heart rate is an indication of cardiovascular system health, and it's also a marker for overall stress in the system, right? So when we look at this, a lot of times my ladies are like, oh my gosh, look at my resting heart rate, it's coming down. That is heart health. That matters, right? Especially when the number one killer of women is cardiovascular disease. Do you have improved lab markers? Are your lipids looking better? Is your blood sugar better? Like, we want to make sure that, yes, we keep the scale in there, but it's not the only thing. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So what ways are you measuring success? Now let's talk a little bit about weight loss versus fat loss. Weight loss is literally scale weight. You go from 170 to 150, the number on the scale goes down. Typically, if you are someone who thinks you have 15 pounds or more to lose, you're probably going to fall into that category, that we do still need some weight loss, total overall weight. Okay. Now, if you are someone that you're 15 pounds or less, and really, like, she's a good example of a client. She did lose weight, but she also lost a substantial amount of fat loss. You can see that in her midsection. That is composition, and that's going to show up in inches, how your clothes fit, the definition. So like, if you look at her abs here, you can see the body fat has gone down, right? Like, you can actually start to see the definition in her abs here, right? And this is nothing extreme. It's just a composition shift. Yet a lot of times clients will notice like maybe 2-3 pounds on the scale, but they're like, but my pants fit. How is this possible? Because fat occupies more space than muscle. So you don't have to lose a lot of this to have your body be smaller. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, muscle does not weigh more than fat. A pound is a pound is a pound, but it just occupies more space. So if you're like 10 pounds, 12 pounds, 15 pounds, a lot of that is just going to be composition change, not necessarily weight loss. And that's going to be reflected more in macros and the type of exercise that you're doing, not necessarily a deficit. Those are different in how you approach them. Weight loss, yes, you need a deficit. Fat loss, you don't necessarily need a deficit. It's more going to be about how you eat, the composition of your food, meaning the macros, your protein, carbs, and fats, and the type of exercise that you do, and hormonal balance. Okay. So here, let's answer the question: how long is this gonna take? How long does it take me to lose the weight? So here's the thing: what is normally expected? Let me make sure there's no questions. And as I go, guys, feel free to jump into the chat and ask questions. What is normally expected, and you can even see this like on MyFitnessPal, things like that. They'll give you targets, and a lot of people are like, you want to lose a pound a week, you want to lose 2 pounds a week. If you were to lose So 1 pound is 3,500 calories. That is a 500 calorie deficit per day. If you want to lose 2 pounds per week, you need a consistent deficit of 1,000 calories a day, 7,000 calories per week. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, when you start hitting around that 400 to 500 calorie deficit per day, your metabolism, and everybody's a little bit different, but that's kind of around the place where your metabolism is going to start to push back. It's going to start to go, oh, seems a little dangerous to me. Let me make her more hungry. Let's close that gap, right? So even if you were in your 20s or 30s, pushing beyond this, you're going to notice that your hunger goes up, your energy levels go down, cravings go up, right? And it just becomes really hard to sustain for any length of time. And it is the reason, and these are actual statistics, that 99% of people who go into dieting with this mentality, 99% will gain the weight back. It's not just you. It's not just that there's something wrong with you or that you don't have enough willpower. It's that your metabolism says, nope, not going to do it. And it will push back and you end up swinging into overindulgence. Of those people who gain the weight back, 66% will gain the weight back plus some. And some of you have probably experienced this. I lost 10 pounds, but I gained back 12. And you just keep doing that. The problem is that every time you diet, it gets harder to lose the 10 to 15 pounds. And then you gain it back because you've downregulated your metabolism. It's adapted and it's burning less and less and less. So then you gain it back and it gets harder and harder to lose it again, right? That is what is normally expected. In midlife, if you're doing everything systematically, oh, I see it, hold on. Isn't that you also messed up your metabolism? So when you go back to eating the same, you now don't burn as much as before. Yep, that's exactly what happens. That's that adaptation that we talked about, Francesca, is that as you do this, every time you diet, anytime you put yourself in a deficit, the metabolism is going to adapt. So it's going to downregulate. It's way of being very efficient, right? So depending upon how long you stay there and how many times you repeatedly do that, your metabolism has downregulated and now it's burning at a lower level. That's from years of dieting, right? So that's why it gets just harder and harder to lose the weight as you get older, on top of the fact that in midlife, you have a higher stress sensitivity. You are less stress resilient, which means that it's not impossible, but it is harder to get your body to burn fat if you are always in a stress state. So realistically, I tell my ladies, listen, half a pound to a pound per week is doable. It's doable where you're not going to get a bunch of feedback, a bunch of pushback, right? It's doable in being able to live your life without feeling super restricted. It's doable in that you're going to experience less sleep disturbances. If you guys pay attention to that, anytime you go through a diet and you start to scale back calories, particularly carbohydrates, you'll experience more sleep disturbances. Again, even more so in midlife, because carbs will lower cortisol. Carbs lower cortisol. When you strip carbs away, it's going to affect your sleep, right? So we want to be able to do this in a systematic way. And that's why we look at the balance, boost, and burn. First, we balance those 4 hormones out, right? Those Fab4, ghrelin, leptin, insulin, cortisol. We make sure that they're happy. Then we make sure that you are burning enough. And then we put you in some kind of deficit. And the metabolism will either do a smaller deficit for a longer period of time, or if you are not in a stress sensitive state, right? You can do deeper deficits for shorter periods of time. And there's lots of options with that. I think my clients really like it. We go, well, we could do this, we do this, we do this, we do this. And based on personality and what you have coming up, you can kind of pick and choose how you want to do it. It doesn't always have to be a consistent deficit over time. I've done some pretty extreme stuff myself. I've done extreme things with clients. And a lot of it has to do with personality and time availability. And also, it's good to mix it up because remember, the metabolism will always adapt. So we don't want to just always use the same trick every single time. There's a book called Potatoes Not Prozac, Carbs Lower Cortisol. I've never heard of that book, but yes, it does. If you ever wake up in the middle of the night, I do this, I think I mentioned this the other day. You ever wake up in the middle of the night, you can't, I use breathing first, right, and try to relax my way back to sleep. But if I can't, I'll get up and go just eat half a banana, just to try to get my body to go back into a more calm state. So hopefully this gives you an idea of like, okay, here's how I map this out, right? And you also have to plan for chaos. You have to plan for months where getting through the holidays, you're like, oh my God, for my clients, I think I had a couple clients that might have lost a little bit over the holidays. The vast majority of them maintained. They maintained over the holidays. They didn't gain the 8 to 12 pounds. They enjoyed certain things. They drank alcohol. They probably ate more sweets than they normally do. But because their metabolic rate was at a higher level and just in a healthier state, their body could handle those calories. And so they just maintained. And then usually, mid-January, towards end of January, everybody's like, okay, let me refocus, right? Or things at work come up and they're just like, it's crazy. And they kind of put things on hold. There are going to be periods where you're not going to be able to count and track and hit everything and hit all the marks, right? So you have to layer in the fact that life's going to happen and you're going to have to, excuse my language, fumble fuck your way through or kind of just tread water for a little bit, and not always be right on track. So factor that in. Any questions? Nope. Okay, so that being said, I wanted to at least prep you guys up. I alluded to this on yesterday's call, and I will, if you guys reach out, I will release this information to you today. Next steps, we're going to go into next steps a little bit deeper tomorrow, but where this is leading for some of you is getting ongoing coaching, ongoing help. And that is my Midlife Metabolism Accelerator program. It is an all-in-one high-touch coaching program. Yes, it's got one-on-one coaching. It's got a back-end membership with resources and community so that you are fully supported, even between our calls. It is a 6-month membership, a 6-month coaching program, and I'm going to be releasing bonuses. One of them, which I'm really excited, I should have pulled this up, is a community called Pausing Together. I'm gifting 6 months of this community to you guys because it is amazing, and it's for women who are going through perimenopause, menopause. It has so many resources. It's got international resources in terms of finding a practitioner, things to ask for, different modalities that you can use, things that there's a community chat where people can ask questions, what about this, what about that? She's really put it together so well, and I'm so impressed with it that I'm gifting you guys 6 months with it. I can only, because it's so high touch, I think sometimes people look at it and they're like, oh, it's a group program. I'm like, no, it's got group back into it, but it's very high touch. You and I are doing a lot of communicating. I can only open up 10 spots for April. The way it's going to get released is it's coming to you guys first because you completed the challenge and you've shown up here. Starting on Sunday, it will start to get released to my entire email community. And then it will start getting released on social starting on Monday. The 10 spots will fill up. They always do when it comes to coaching, but I want to make sure that you guys have access to it first. And in addition to that, and that's why I'm mentioning this today, because a couple of you have reached out, I'm going to offer an additional bonus to the first 3 women who get set up. I'm going to gift you with an additional 3 one-on-one coaching sessions. In addition to what you get in the program, so that we can really jumpstart your program, or you can bank them and use them when you hit a rough patch, because you're going to hit a rough patch. Everybody does. If you aren't sure if this is for you, if you have questions, you can shoot me questions, or you can even set up a quick call. I'm not a pressure person. I don't do it. I believe that if I have to convince you to do it, I'm gonna have to convince you to stay. And I don't have the energy. I'd rather put my energy in helping you. So it really is just to see if it's a good fit for you. So that's how that works. I will actually walk you guys through the whole thing tomorrow. So you'll get to see everything, but this is really more just kind of an announcement to those who have already reached out and said, hey, I'm interested in working with you ongoing. How does that work? So there you go. All right, questions. Francesca, are you asking what is the 3B method?
Yes.
Okay. 3B method, I'm gonna, hold on. I like to, there we go. Got it. 3B method is an easy way to think of this. This is gonna be the B's. It's gonna be balancing your hormones out first, then boosting your metabolism, and then going into burn or a deficit. And for those of you who are like, okay, well, how long does each one take? It depends. It depends. The balancing part, you guys have already started. You've already started the balancing part, and you should have noticed, like, oh, like I'm digesting food better. My energy levels are more stable. Like all of that is good indication that you are starting to balance those hormones out. They don't have to be perfect, but we want certain markers, like we talked about yesterday when it comes to hormones, that biofeedback. Remember that list I gave you guys? And I know, Francesca, I don't know if you got a chance to watch it. But we want all of those biofeedbacks to be at like a 4 or a 5. Then we know that we're fairly balanced, right? So
No,
once,
I did that.
what's that?
No, I did that. And I didn't have top scores.
Okay, so we know that we really want to put our energy into that first. Now, what'll happen as those start to drop into place is that you'll notice that you lose inches first. You'll notice that you feel better. Some people will actually start to lose weight because their metabolism is now, instead of focusing on giving their energy to all these other systems, it's like, oh no, I can burn now. And so a lot of times when we'll notice like, oh, I am actually starting to lose weight. And so we kind of start to combine boosting that metabolism up. And a lot of times, even though we're focused on boosting the metabolism up, it's already kicking into gear. And so sometimes while we're boosting, some women will still lose weight, but we got to drag that up. And the boosting part really is where it varies. If you're really deep in the hole, it'll take a little bit of time. If you have a hard time hitting the markers that we talk about, it'll take a little bit more time. But I have women who come in and like 2, 3 weeks in, we're like, you're where you need to be. Let's go. Let's do a deficit. And then we choose how we do that.
You know, Jen, there was a thing that happened today that uh so I decided to try and track my energy level today. Oh, sorry. Uh and and what I found, I'm not sure that this is the truth. Oh my God, everything happens at once. I don't know that this is the truth per se, but so I had some breakfast this morning and I had lactose-free yogurt and some kefir, right? And so I'm eating that, and then boom, after a while, I get tired. I get tired, I have to go to bed a little bit, get up, and then my energy level has been really good all day. I went to the gym and everything like that. And I'm thinking that I don't know if you have an app or something like that that you know of where you can actually track your energy to understand what's going on, what's happening, where is it at, what is affecting me in a way. And the second question I had is, will you be saying this today or tomorrow about prices and everything like that?
So what I'm going to do for those who are interested, send me a message. I will send you the link. There's a link that literally walks you through the program and how it works. Pricing, all of it. All you have to do is click a button, you're in, right? And then tomorrow I'll deep dive and I'll literally go through everything. So I'll show you guys. So if you're just like, oh, I want to see you go through it first, that's fine. I'll show you guys all tomorrow. But if you're interested, I will send you the link today so you can get a jump on it.
Okay, great.
In response to your question, I don't have an app that I use, but I do have people kind of jot down notes. Like if you just have like a little notebook that you keep or whatever. A lot of times, if women say, you know, Jen, I'm noticing, and I think you said this the other day too, it's like I eat, and then that's when I notice that I get really tired. If that's happening, I'll go back and look at what you're eating. I'll go back and look at like what did the workouts look like? What does your resting heart rate look like? But an easy one that you guys can do is just get a notebook and you don't have to track food per se, but just start jotting down like, oh, I noticed this, I noticed this, I noticed this, right? A lot of times if you like, sometimes you notice that you wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, but other times you don't, go
Yeah.
back and look at your dinner, right? So you just do a little bit of detective work and you can just kind of jot down the times that you notice your energy is off.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
My guess is it's related to food.
Yeah, I'm beginning to understand that it somehow is actually it has to be because today I've been wondering, like, why do I have such great energy today? I just, I don't understand. I'm like a babe in the woods. Yeah.
Yeah. It after you start to notice the patterns, you'll be like, oh, like this is why. If we looked at it, we could probably figure out. And I think too, aren't you vegetarian or
I'm a pescatarian.
pescatarian? Yep.
Yeah.
So my guess is that, fiber and protein are a little bit harder to hit. And so if your carbohydrates are a little bit higher than your other macros, which I'm guessing that they probably are, just because it is harder when you're a pescatarian or vegetarian, that
Yeah.
will affect it too. So we just got to get creative in how to balance those things out.
Yeah.
So cool. Anybody else have any questions? Are we good? Good, good. All right, guys. So tomorrow, call is at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. My international people will have to convert that. You can go to Google. I have a lot of people sending me emails like, what is this? And I'm like, you got to Google it. Google's amazing. Google it and convert it. And how we're going to wrap this up is I'm going to teach you, number one, how to do an effective evaluation. Because what happens is you step on the scale and you gain 1.5 pounds and you freak out. And so you're just very emotional about it. I want to teach you how to be clinical, the way that I would look at it, right? Like, okay, well, let's just get clinical and figure out like what's actually going on. So I'm going to teach you that 3-step process. We're going to talk about like, okay, we've started balancing out. How do we know when we go to the next level? What does boost look like? What does that look like? We're going to go into that, and then I will explain for those that are interested how the coaching program works. We'll go into that.
Jen, can I just ask you one more thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm thinking that you have projected very strongly throughout these days that we've heard you and listened to you, a kind of calm confidence when it comes to what you can provide for your clients. And so bear with me that I'm now asking you this provocative question still.
Oh, juicy.
Okay.
Okay, shoot.
No, not very,
Not
but
juicy.
just
Okay.
like, is it your understanding based on your experience that as a woman in my case, turning 60, who has had problems with, because at this point I'm looking at, I would, for my health, for my knees, for my arthritic knees, I would need probably to go down like, yeah, 15 kilos, maybe a little more even. Wow, I don't feel that big, but that's the fact of the case. But I would be happy and settle for just to feel a little good as the summer is coming, to lose just a couple of kilos.
Yeah.
Is your understanding that that is absolutely doable, even when there's been times when you're like, you don't think it's ever going to happen?
Yes.
This was sort of a leading question, but anyways.
Yes. I guess my only hesitancy, number one, yes, I do have a calm confidence because I've been doing this for 30 years. Like I know how it works, right? The only hesitancy is that because women come into this with a diet culture mentality, that
Yes.
can be hard, right? Where it's like, I used to diet and I could drop 10 pounds. That shit's not going to happen. Like
Yeah.
that, it's not. I won't let
Yeah.
it happen. And so a lot of times clients will come in, and even though like I'm constantly saying, and I will have you repeat it back to me, what phase are we in? We're in balance, Jen. We're in balance, Jen.
Yeah.
And I'll
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
message just like, but I haven't lost any weight. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, what phase are we in? You know what I mean? So there is that. I don't put people in deficit out of the gate. I won't. Not until I know those numbers are like where they need to be, because otherwise, what's the point of you being here? You go do any diet and get that shit,
And I
right?
would have to say, Jen, even this first leisurely walking, I have to, it's like, there's a certain pace where I go, oh, wait a minute, I'm walking too fast. And I'm dialing it down. And I kid you not, my whole body relaxes.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
What is interesting is that you will notice these things, whereas normally you don't notice anything about your body, right? Like you
Yeah.
don't notice the tension in your body.
Yeah.
Where once you start just doing a quick scan, right? People think like mindfulness is like sitting down and doing a 30-minute meditation. It can be, but it also can be that I just took 30 seconds and just paid attention to what's going on in my body, right? So you get these scans, you're like, oh, I noticed this. I noticed that, you know, I ate this thing and then I got a headache, or you know what I mean? Like you just kind of start to notice things and go, all right, let me put the pieces together. All of this is a giant jigsaw puzzle. And if you approach it that way, it's just a matter of like, I got to move the pieces around until they start to fit. But to answer your question, could you notice a difference by summer? Yes. Because inflammation is what's making you puffy. Cortisol is what's making you puffy. So if all we did is lower that, you're going to notice that things feel tighter and you're firmer.
Yay!
So yes. Any other questions? You got anything else for me, Francesca? Anybody else got anything else for me? No. All right, ladies. Again, if you're interested, you want to be one of the three and kind of claim your spot, let me know. You can send me either an email, you can send it via the app. I don't care how you do it. And then I'll send you the link out. Otherwise, I will see you guys all tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye, guys.
Bye.